Newcastle's 35 breeders all hold special licences to keep these rabbits. But they're not just ordinary bunnies. Breeds such as Sooty Tan Lops and Netherland Dwarfs are, for the experts, collector's items. For some people, rabbits like this bloke are regarded as vermin. But for the breeders, it's like keeping their own cat or dog.
There is one particular rabbit I've got at home that's in the kitchen all the time, in the house all the time. He's allowed to run around. He eats bananas, sultanas, peanut butter.
Judges look for quality of coat, type and style. The star today was this 4-month-old Ermine Rex. The experts tip a future Australian champion.
It's the 6th annual half marathon and it attracted more than 150 runners. The race is run over a 21.2 kilometre course from Spears Point to Valentine and back again. It's a highlight of the 4 months of late games. Race leaders set a fast pace from the outset. Local runners David Forbes and Brian Morgan flanked visitor Peter Brett from the Institute of Sport. Joy Terry, the second fastest woman in Australia over the half marathon, was followed by a determined Karen Hindmarsh of Wollongong. By the start of the return leg, it was obvious records would be broken. Brett had opened a good lead, and a wildcard entry, Louis Young, kept up a dogged pursuit of the front runners. Forbes, labouring under a dose of the flu, had fallen back, only to withdraw from the race. The tenacious Hindmarsh had snuck ahead of Joy Terry, but the runners were about to hit overdrive. Commonwealth Games rep Peter Brett, boasting 6th place in last weekend's City to Surf, made a clear break around the foreshore. He crossed the line with a time of 1 hour, 4 minutes and 44 seconds, 5 minutes inside the old record. Louis Young won a hard-fought 2nd place with Brian Morgan 3rd, both also in record time. Joe Terry blasted 10 minutes off the women's record, finishing in just 76 minutes. Courageous runs by Hindmarsh and Newcastle's Joanne Debnam also brought them home inside the old record. It's actually the latest in indoor sports. This space was once used for an aerobics class, but it's now given way to an all-weather indoor skateboard mini-ramp and bowl, one of only 3 in the country. The riders wear padding, play their music loud, and have 1 minute to perform an array of tricks in front of the judges. Today's contest was organised by the Newcastle and Lake Macquarie Skateboard Association and saw competitors in 3 categories vie for prizes of skateboard equipment, clothing and stickers. Danny Whistle won the beginners, Matthew Warner the intermediate, and Michael Davidson took 1st place in the advanced rider section. When the contest was over, they skated on just for the fun of it. Clear skies, good crowds and a procession of veteran cars and players preceded some vintage play in the Newcastle Tooheys Premiership Grand Final. Waratah Mayfield, considered the underdogs of the match, kicked off and followed through with some blanket defence. A smothered play of the ball gave Waratah the first shot at points for the day, and a penalty goal opened the score at 2-0. Sustained pressure and a quick decoy by Lakes put McKinnon over the line for the first try. Lakes captain coach Peter Walsh converted and took the scores to 6-2. Waratah hit straight back with Mark Hanlon diving for the corner of the Lakes try line. Tony Picken angled in the conversion to put the Cheetahs back on top 8-6. The Seagulls kept the ball alive for Stephen Brown to get through cheaply with this one. A kick from in front gave Spider Walsh his 100th point for the season and Lakes a 12-8 lead. An elbow charge by Chris Prigg earned him a spell in the sin bin, and then a legal charge for the line by Ben Moidy put the Cheetahs back into the lead. Heading into the second half, 14-12, the Tars looked hungry and fit, but Lakes responded with a concerted attack which ended in this touchdown that was disallowed by referee Mick Benson. An offside call on Waratah gave Walsh a penalty kick which locked the scores at 14-all. Another offside ruling in the Lakes territory put the Cheetahs 2 ahead, and Tony Pickett put on another point with a boot. With only minutes to go, the Tars were clinging to a 3-point lead by their fingertips. McKinnon threw everything he had at the line for a last desperate attempt by the Seagulls, but time had run out and the full-time siren was drowned by the ecstatic cheers of Waratah Mayfield fans. Final score 17-14.
Every year for the last 18 years, a giant tent city has been built at Gunnedah. AgQuip organisers call it an agricultural supermarket, where farmers come to spend their cash.
So I've personally seen a fellow write a cheque for $54,000 and he said, oh, I forgot the other 10, shall I alter the cheque or do you want another one?
There are more than 2,000 companies working here at AgQuip. $50 million worth of product in the largest display of agricultural equipment in Australia. Everything a farmer could possibly need is on show, from Murray Greys to machinery of all types, rows and rows of it. Last year, 130,000 people spent $25 million over the 3 days of AgQuip, but dealers say they'll have to work for their money this year. High interest rates make these $200,000 plus wheat harvesters tough to sell. Massey Ferguson's Peter Piddington says farmers are economising.
There are more and more farmers buying a machine and doing their neighbours' work, as well as there's a lot of contractors that go around and harvest from farm to farm.
Wait there, now just sit down. Wait there, stop there. Wait up.
Some farming ventures, however, are booming. Tim Austin sells his Australian Kelpie dogs to 18 different nations, including Russia. Good dogs can make $2,000 each. Tim sells $300 a year.
I'm just another Aussie out there trying to do something for Australia with the Kelpie,
right.
And it's trying too.
Ostrich farming is another growth industry. These birds are valued at $30,000 each. The chicks, $3,000. AgQuip gives farmers an opportunity to discuss the latest innovations in agriculture, a chance to meet the locals and enjoy some country hospitality. Peter Ryan, NBN News. Meanwhile, the Newcastle Knights are preparing for the game of their lives against Balmain this Sunday. The Knights must win to make a semi-final playoff. Alan McMahon's team had a brilliant run midway through the season with 8 wins on the trot. But in recent weeks, they have struggled. A loss to Penrith, a nail-biting draw with Parramatta, and another loss last Friday night at Lang Park has pushed the Knights into a corner.
We sort of played well for 2/3 of the year, and then we come to the big money and we're stumbling a little. So I think it's just a question we've got to ask ourselves and get it right on the night type thing.
Despite threatening heads would roll after the Brisbane game, McMahon has announced an unchanged 15 for the game. Balmain coach Warren Ryan will not announce his side till the weekend. If Parramatta beat Manly, Ryan can afford to rest players as Balmain would make the top 5 with a loss. Alan McMahon says his side deserves a crack at the semi-finals.
You only get out of the game what you put into it, and they've put plenty in. And I really believe that they deserve to be their semi-final time, and hopefully that will be met come next week.
George Bush had long avoided calling the foreigners trapped in Iraq and Kuwait hostages, but with Iraq's announcement they would be used as human shields, the president finally decided it was time for plain language.
There can be little doubt that whatever these innocent people are called, they are in fact hostages. And I want there to be no misunderstanding. I will hold the government of Iraq responsible for the safety and well-being of American citizens held against their will.
The last time Bush issued a warning like that was to Manuel Noriega, only 2 days before American troops invaded Panama. Iraq denies the foreigners are hostages, but wants it known they'll be caught in the line of American fire if war breaks out.
If they are going to get hurt, they are going to get hurt by your planes and your ships, military ships, and your soldiers.
In the latest roundup in Kuwait, 100 foreigners, including 12 Americans and 82 Britons, were seized from their hotels. It's believed they were taken to Baghdad. According to Iraqi radio, 35 Americans have already been moved to military bases. And to deprive foreigners of their only safety net, Iraq's demanding all foreign embassies in Kuwait close by the weekend. At the American embassy, diplomats are reportedly under orders not to abandon their posts unless forced to do so at gunpoint.
The dispatch of a naval task force to join the blockade against Iraq received unanimous endorsement from the Labor caucus this morning after the Prime Minister promised full cabinet consideration and consultation across the party before any upgrading of Australia's commitment. Soon afterwards, as Mr Hawke prepared to address Parliament on the worsening Gulf crisis, the 3 ships of the task force, the frigates Darwin and Adelaide and the supply ship Success, arrived at the Stirling Naval Base just south of Perth. They'll refuel, take on more stores and munitions and an army squad with anti-aircraft missiles to help protect the Success and sail for the Middle East tomorrow. Mr Hawke told the House the ships were not being sent to the Gulf to attack Iraq. Foreign Minister Gareth Evans would meet senior UN officials and key members of the Security Council in New York on Monday, part of a week of high-powered shuttle diplomacy starting tomorrow, in which Senator Evans would also meet Egyptian leaders in Cairo and possibly other Arab leaders too, plus members of the US administration in Washington.
The government will continue to pursue diplomatic approaches to the problems in the Gulf. We will support any constructive diplomatic effort to resolve the crisis.
Opposition leader John Hewson, while criticising the government's failure to consult him about the Gulf commitment, said he wanted to help build a united Australian position, a national consensus.
There are important turning points in history when countries simply must stand up to bullies.
The military personnel sent to the Gulf, he said, have the opposition's full support and confidence.
To them and to their families, we wish success and a safe return.
Laurie Oakes, Canberra.
Toxicology is the study of poisons, and environmental toxicology concentrates on the effects of contaminants in the environment on humans. In cooperation with the University of Technology in Sydney and the University of Wollongong, Newcastle University hopes to establish a national environmental toxicology unit to combine public information services, research and training, and professional consultancy. The university has enlisted the aid of Dr. Catherine Kelly, internationally known for her work in the field. She believes the centre is an absolute necessity for the assimilation of scientific knowledge and future public understanding of environmental toxicity in this country.
I think that this is a major, long overdue, needed and premier effort in terms of addressing issues of what the health impacts are of environmental contaminants in Australia. That we have fabulous research and teaching facilities here, but what we've been missing in Australia is a means of translating that to an individual level. What is it safe for me to drink this water, to eat this fish, etc.? That's what this centre is all about.
There are several research facilities vying for federal funding for the project through the National Health and Medical Research Council, but the University of Newcastle believes its proposal combines the most suitable academic personnel with an ideal field for environmental research.
The Hunter region has a wide mix of both rural and industrial activities. We have a reasonably happy relationship between heavy industries such as aluminium smelters and steel with dairying, wine and other rural activities that, as well as of course the coal mining, which place us in a situation where we are a unique physical microcosm in Australia. And this mix provides an ideal setting for this type of research.
Ivan Welsh believes he's suffered from the condition for the past 10 years, a disease that stops him sleeping normally at night.
Previously I just thought it was tiredness, because I've been used to working 7-day weeks and pretty long hours most of the time, so I just put it down to tiredness. But during a recent trip to Japan, I needed to stay awake so as not to embarrass myself and not to embarrass our hosts, so I sought some medication, and the doctor there said that I should seek medical help when I got back.
That help means wearing a special nose and mouth guard every night for the rest of his life to avoid his windpipe closing, shutting off his oxygen supply. To compensate for lack of sleep, he dozes off during the day, often when working on his computer or even halfway through a conversation.
In your role as mayor, has the sleep apnoea caused you any embarrassment?
Yes, it has, in a couple of instances at public functions, and also in here having private interviews. At any time when you find you go to sleep at a function, people will either say, you've had too much to drink, or you're not interested in what's happening. Well, this is not true.
And even driving his car has become a problem.
So I've run off the road a couple of times, and I've gone to sleep at traffic lights, to wake up just to find myself sitting there as the only car and everybody else is gone. And that's a frightening thing too.
He decided to go public as a warning to others who may have the disease without knowing it.
The fact that I've been so pig-headed about it in the past by thinking, well, I'm just tired, it's made me realise that there could be a lot of other people out there who think they're just tired as well, and they could well have this particular problem. And it is a problem, a bad problem, that can apparently kill.
With 2,750 kilometres behind them, the runners ease through Maitland, just 1,500 kilometres or 15 days running time away from Melbourne. About every kilometre, a fresh athlete takes the baton, carrying messages of support from along the route. Organisers expect more than 4,000 people to take part, retracing the run of the Olympic flame in 1956.
The oldest runner was 84 years old, and he ran the kilometre. He won a gold medal in the 1932 Olympic Games, and the youngest runner, I think, has been about 7 years old. So we've had, the total range of runners.
The run brings back special memories for 58-year-old Trevor Cowling. He carried the Olympic torch through Maitland in 1956.
I was very proud of it, especially for Maitland anyway, because I was one of the runners picked here for Maitland, and I thought it was an honour, especially for myself and also for the town.
The hunter leg of this year's reenactment began at Dungog at daylight, and after civic receptions in Maitland and Newcastle, the runners should finish in Wyong tonight. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Knights officials were all smiles today as they announced details of a new 3-year deal with BP.
We've locked the deal up with BP for a considerable sum of money, and it's a high range with incentives that approaches a six-figure sum. And I won't be disclosing any more details than that because it's pertinent between the parties. But I can tell you it's a good deal for us, and we're happy that they're with us.
Coming on the day of their most important clash, the deal is a shot in the arm for the financially ailing Knights. Their success on the field hasn't been matched off it. They were forced to make a desperate plea for assistance to Premier Nick Greiner earlier this year. That fell on deaf ears, but this latest windfall is finally a step in the right direction.
It's not the way out, but it's very important for us to lock in our major sponsor because, times are tough and we're all aware of the problems that are out there. Our financial situation's been well documented and we don't need to talk any further on that, but the fact that we've got BP alongside us now is going to be a great benefit to us.
After a year as an associate sleeve sponsor, BP is relieved to have been given top billing. Negotiations have been going on for the last 2 months, with the enthusiasm of local dealers apparently the telling factor.
Yes, a major factor, and we're looking forward to promoting alongside of the Knights in the coming years.
While Lake Macquarie Council elections aren't planned for another 12 months, Mayor Welsh is already on the campaign trail. Speaking at the Businessmen's Club lunch, Alderman Welsh was critical of what he called a radical fringe of watermelons, who are looking for the environmental vote.
These are last year's Socialists, this year's Greens. And I'm sure that everybody here would recognise somebody in that vein.
Alderman Welsh said his council would spend $4 million on the environment this year, but the Greenies expected more. Alderman Welsh alleged the watermelons had sealed backroom deals with the Democrats in a desperate bid for power.
I understand that the watermelons and the Democrats have now signed some sort of an alliance, that the Democrats will support them at the next local council election if they will support the Democrats at the state election.
Lake Macquarie's mayor said that in a public survey by the council, ratepayers cited the environment as a critical issue, but also noted roads, drainage and budgets as important.
The first call the fire brigade had was that there was smoke issuing from the former R.H. Taylor Mowers and Cycles building in Hunter Street. And the first fireman to arrive had to cope with dense smoke in the showroom which fronts onto Hunter Street. However, in seconds, the rear of the building was engulfed in flame. The blaze at first threatening the adjacent Technical College building. Brigades from a number of inner suburbs were called as firemen tackled the blaze from below and above. Other brigades were placed on standby on the downwind side of the fire as showers of sparks sailed skywards. It took almost 30 minutes for firemen to bring the blaze under control. While most of the building was damaged, the fire was prevented from spreading to adjacent buildings.
What took the earthquake only seconds to destroy has taken time, hard work and determination to rebuild. But now the battle is over. The street is once again back in business with all the enthusiasm and panache that is its trademark. Today, traders staged a reopening as part of the Hunters Ethnic Communities Council Carnivale 90.
We're trying to achieve a change in attitude of the public at large to Hamilton after the earthquake. The perception is there that the street is basically dead and a lot of the services are missing, when in fact that's not the case.
The street's ethnic flavour was enhanced with festive decorations. Tomorrow, a $1,000 prize will be awarded to the best decorated business.
We've been absolutely delighted. It's been fantastic. All of the traders have gotten involved and the place is looking extremely festive, which is really what we're looking for.
It looks likely Beaumont Street will be the permanent home to the Carnivale in the years ahead. On Sunday, it kicks off with a parade of floats and a host of outdoor entertainment.